I think she's a powerful force of good and positive energy.
But you ain't no Elon.
But she also brought us Dr. Oz and The Secret. We have to remember what this lady has done.
She has to be held accountable.
I forgive her, but I mean, cut the shit. The Secret is a particularly egregious offense.
What? You don't believe? You don't believe?
Oh, believe?
I want to be rich. I am rich.
I imagine myself flying. I can fly. I will beat my wings until I...
Oprah once sat high on the media throne, unchallenged and untouchable until Joe Rogan and Tucker Carlson crashed the party like wrecking balls at a garden brunch. Gone are the cozy book club chats and soul-soothing affirmations. Now, it's verbal warfare. Rogan's lobbing raw, unfiltered questions like haymakers while Carlson's roasting her narrative like a billionaire at a backyard BBQ. The Queen of Calm now finds herself center stage in a storm of controversy. Is this the unraveling of her mythic media aura or the start of a headline-fueled reinvention she never saw coming? Either way, the truth bombs they just dropped are shaking her empire to its core.
Winfrey, she's worth $3 billion. She's up there talking about all the racism she encountered.
But okay, so Oprah Winfrey is American, but Kamala Harris, Jamaicans are not Americans, A. B, not oppressed in any sense. They're actually very successful in the United States. Caribbeans in general, I think, make more than native-born whites. They're successful, they're entrepreneurial. They're not part of the history of racism and slavery in the United States, just the opposite. They just showed up here. So, like, this is ridiculous.
Let's be real, calling Oprah just a talk show host is like calling Bianca just a singer. Oprah was a cultural force, a spiritual compass, a diet whisperer, and the ultimate billionaire bestie who made millions feel seen. For suburban moms across America, she wasn't just TV, she was therapy, church, and girl talk rolled into one. Her approval? Priceless. Her shade? Career-ending. She handed out cars like Halloween candy, turned obscure books into national obsessions, and had a superpower for summoning tears from guests and viewers who had no clue why they were even crying. She didn't just shape media, she shaped lives.
Rogan is calling out Oprah and Michelle Obama for hypocritical speeches at the DNC. Watch.
She's up there talking about income inequality. Like, hey, lady.
Yeah, I know.
You're rich as Like, how is that equal?
But now, the shimmer is starting to dull slowly, awkwardly, almost tragically, and in a twist the universe clearly scripted for maximum drama. The Wrecking Crew isn't some coordinated media takedown. It's two entirely different beasts barreling toward the same target. On one side, Joe DM'd and deadlifts Rogan, the king of unfiltered chaos. On the other, Tucker bow-tied vengeance, Carlson, precision-tuned and polarizing. No alliance. No handshake, just two media juggernauts accidentally converging in the same demolition zone. And at the center of the wreckage, Oprah's once impenetrable, golden-glazed empire.
Have you noticed that it is more controversial to criticize Oprah than to burn the American flag?
Really?
Seems that way. I've never heard anybody criticize Oprah. Do you think it's political or do you think it's deeper than that? I mean, you're not like a right-winger.
No.
No? No. You don't even seem that political.
No, I'm not really. I'm pretty much, just want to do right by the people.
Let's start with Joe, the high priest of protein shakes and open-ended questions. He's the patron saint of skeptical bros everywhere, an MMA commentator turned podcasting monarch who chats with astrophysicists, bow hunters, psychedelic explorers, and gym fanatics like they're all sitting around a campfire. No topic is off limits, no guest too obscure. Then, out of nowhere, Oprah's name floats into his orbit. Not because she clapped back, not because of a headline, just because something in Joe's sixth sense, his finely tuned nonsense detector, started buzzing. And when that happens, someone's image is about to get bench pressed.
Remember the time Oprah had that lady on, his face bit off by the chimp?
Stay there.
And she showed her face on TV?
Oh, yeah.
Miraculously, she survived just the unimaginable. Her name is Charla Nash. Charla almost always covers her face with the hat and scarf. She wears it, she says, because She doesn't want to scare people.
The lady was wearing a veil over her face, like, let's see your face. Come on. She pulls the veil away.
Like a Nope.
What are you doing?
Would you mind lifting the veil? Oh, no. So we can see.
You could take the hat off.
Oh, the hat comes off.
Yep.
Okay.
Here's a woman who rose to fame preaching authenticity, yet behind the curtain, every moment of her media empire was choreographed with the precision of a Fortune 500 brand launch. Oprah didn't just show up, she debuted, polished and purposeful. And Joe? He doesn't need a leaked memo or explosive headline, he just catches a whiff of contradiction, and suddenly, the whole FOD starts to shimmer like a hologram in daylight. You can almost hear the smirk in his voice as he peels back the layers of her legacy like a stale protein bar wrapped in eco-friendly packaging and labeled all natural. His curiosity leads him straight down the wellness rabbit hole because that's where Oprah's image is most heavily marinated, in the glow of personal growth, inner peace, and high-end healing. But her version of self-improvement comes accessorized with miracle smoothies, $500 spiritual retreats, and a parade of life coaches with dubious credentials and expensive affirmations. Joe starts tugging at the loose threads, the detox teas, the ever-evolving miracle diets, the pseudoscientific buzzwords, dressed up as revelations. Then there's the unmissable dance between empowerment and consumerism, between preaching freedom and pitching yet another lifestyle brand. Oprah says, you can have it all, but there's always a catch. Buy this, believe that, chant this mantra by sunrise on a hand-woven vision board. Joe, between cold plunges and carnivore rants, calls it what it is: commodified enlightenment. A soft focus infomercial dressed up as emotional salvation. He doesn't explode. He just chuckles, that slow, knowing laugh. The kind that says, ah, so this is the hustle now. The kind of laugh that echoes louder than 1,000 op-eds.
On abortion.
If you do not have autonomy over this, if you cannot control when and how you choose to bring your children into this world and how they are raised and supported, there is no American dream.
There's no American dream without abortion. That to me sounds like a woman that's had an abortion. I don't know, but that's what it sounds like to me.
Well, it's such a grotesque and crazy thing to say that clearly it's coming from somewhere.
And then there's the supporting cast, Oprah's ever-rotating lineup of experts who've graced her stage over the years. Joe sees them too. You know the type. 1 minute they're dishing out advice in soft tones and sweater vests. The next they're running for Senate or moonlighting as spokespeople for Big Pharma. It's as if Oprah cracked open a portal where charisma gets you farther than credentials, and vibes matter more than verified expertise. Joe, organic popcorn in hand, non-GMO, obviously isn't buying it. He's not launching attacks. He's just asking the kinds of questions that make the entire spectacle start to wobble. Simple ones, the kind that peel back the glitter and reveal the gears underneath. Why does the queen of realness keep ending up surrounded by people who crash and burn in the headlines? Why do her tearful moments often feel like cinematic trailers, emotional build-up with a product drop at the end? And why does someone who champions transparency operate a media machine with the precision and secrecy of a government agency? Joe doesn't need a takedown monologue. The contradictions speak for themselves. His audience leans in, some laughing, some side-eyeing, others nodding in quiet realization. And just like that, Oprah's pedestal, once unshakable, starts to look a little cracked at the base.
The Oprah interview?
No.
It's off the rails.
Yeah,
Off the rails.
I heard about it.
Into fucking wine mom country again.
Wow.
I'm a gun owner. Tim Walz is a gun.
know that.
If somebody breaks in my house, they're getting shot.
Yes, I hear that.
Tim Dillon is the best. Tim Dillon's like, she's saying gypsy curses. What is she saying?
Now enter Tucker Carlson, a completely different animal, where Joe Rogan dissects with humor and open-ended curiosity. Tucker storms in swinging a rhetorical sledgehammer, dipped in skepticism and wrapped in American flag decals. In Tucker's world, Oprah isn't just a beloved media icon, she's a symbol. A soft-spoken Trojan horse rolling across the cultural landscape, delivering elite ideology in a velvet voice. He's not here for the book club banter or favorite things lists. He couldn't care less about her holiday gift guides. What he sees is something deeper, more calculated, a billionaire wrapped in benevolence, dishing out moral sermons from a marble kitchen in Montecito. To Tucker, she's the polished face of selective outrage, vocal when it's fashionable, silent when it's inconvenient, and somehow always aligned with whatever earns nods from the boardroom. That's where his hammer starts to fall. He scrutinizes her endorsements, not just political, but cultural, ideological, and economic. The carefully vague statements that seem bold but reveal nothing. The performative gestures that spark applause without consequence. Her influence is massive, yes, but Tucker asks the uncomfortable question, influence for whom? Who's actually cashing in? He paints Oprah as the ultimate shapeshifter, feminist trailblazer, corporate titan, spiritual sage, cultural compass, and philanthropic goddess all rolled into one. But if she's everything to everyone, is she really anything at all? Tucker lifts the curtain just a little, and suddenly, the light that once glowed golden starts to feel a touch too manufactured.
Who's involved with Weight Watchers just apologized for preaching personal accountability over the past decades. She said it's not personal accountability. We're supporting Ozempic. This is becoming, obesity is becoming something.
You think Oprah got paid?
She's highly involved with Weight Watchers. Yeah, Weight Watchers has shifted from a personal accountability organization that it's been preaching for decades and is now a prescriber of Ozempic. They've totally changed because Ozempic is a better business model because you never go off of it.
This is insane. So maybe one of the reasons this is accepted, people don't see it as totally crazy.
And Tucker, bless his fiery, cable news heart, doesn't just peek behind the curtain. He yanks it down like it's the final reveal on a high-stakes reality show. He's not here for the feel-good montage or soft focus lighting. He sees past the inspirational speeches and billion-dollar branding. To him, this isn't America's life coach, it's a media mogul cloaked in compassion, sculpting public opinion like clay while pretending she's just one of us, where Joe tosses casual jabs, chuckling at wellness fads and whispering contradictions into the mic. Tucker is pacing, pointing, practically frothing. His critique isn't spiritual, it's structural. He's raging against control, against the idea that someone with this much power, this much cultural sway, still manages to play the underdog card. That Oprah, seated in her Montecito estate, surrounded by producers and publicists, still gets away with selling relatability in a cashmere robe. And here's the real trick. Neither of them needs Oprah in the room. She's not invited, and she doesn't need to be. They're not debating with her, they're dissecting her. She's no longer just a person. She's a projection, a proxy. Joe casts her as the polished face of hollow self-help. Tucker as a grinning gatekeeper for elite narratives dressed in empathy. And what makes the takedown so compelling is the contrast. Joe does it with a smirk and a shrug, like he's just noticed the emperor has no yoga mat. Tucker does it like he's been personally lied to. And between amusement and outrage, Oprah's empire isn't just critiqued, it's unraveled, piece by glittering, well-curated piece. No scandal needed, no bombshell quote, just a spotlight on the obvious, finally being said out loud.
Down.
Yes, and it's honestly...
She's a little old to be falling down. You loved it?
I loved it.
Wow.
Loved it.
You
She didn't
like
get
when
hurt.
people get hurt.
She's fine.
She's dead.
She died?
Yes.
All right. Ding dong. The witch is dead.
She did.
No,
Imagine if she did, and I was
if she died from the fall.
about her.
Yeah, we're fucked.
No, she didn't die.
No, she's fine. I just think like
she looks like she got hurt.
It's nice to see billionaires fall.
Why is Oprah preaching the virtues of simplicity while sipping green juice inside a $90 million Montecito estate? Why does empowerment look suspiciously like monetized trauma, turned into billion-dollar brand partnerships? And why does she only raise her voice when the crowd is already clapping, never when it actually counts? These aren't smear campaigns. They're expos as dressed in wit, dipped in irony, and served up hot on the digital table, and the internet devours it like it's the last greasy slice of truth pizza at an influencer-run wellness retreat. Joe's tribe chuckles knowingly between kettlebell swings. Tucker's base leans forward, brows furrowed, nodding like they've been waiting for someone to say it out loud. Different worlds, different codes, same message, Hold up, maybe she's not the untouchable goddess of moral clarity we thought she was. That's the kicker. Joe and Tucker didn't huddle in some secret content bunker. They didn't share notes. They simply looked up and saw the same cracks in the marble. And when two ideological heavyweights, polar opposites in style and substance, call out the same illusion, it stops feeling like coincidence. It starts feeling like a reckoning. This isn't a cancellation. Oprah's too colossal, too institutionally embedded to be canceled by a viral clip. No, what's happening is subtler and far more unsettling. Disillusionment. That slow, creeping shift where applause fades into silence, and silence turns into suspicion.
Think of when The Secret came out. I want to say that was like 2006-ish.
2004.
2006.
Nice.
Okay. So 12 years ago, she was 50 years old. How the fuck do you not know when you're 50 years old and worth $1 billion that that's not how it works?
That it's hocus pocus.
Yeah, it's not hocus pocus.
Yeah.
And to sell that to people is crazy. And that's a book that sold, I think I was reading, it sold somewhere in the neighborhood of 20 million.
Because Oprah doesn't need defending, or so the silence suggests. She's not jumping on podcasts to clap back. She's not appearing on cable panels with pre-scripted rebuttals. She's doing what legacy icons do, staying quiet, watching from her hilltop estate, waiting for the noise to die down, hoping, maybe, that this little swell of skepticism will pass like all the others. But once a myth begins to crack, it doesn't shatter clean, it fractures in slow, visible motion. People talk. People share receipts. Viral clips surface side by side. The woman who told us to live our truth next to the sprawling empire she built by selling hers packaged, polished, monetized. The eye of the storm. Joe and Tucker. Two very different demolition styles. Joe lobs thought grenades between elk recipes and casual chuckles. Tucker delivers his with surgical fury and a death stare. One weaponizes logic, the other indignation. And together without even knowing it, they've poked enough holes in the Oprah balloon to make it drift, dip, and wobble. Maybe not burst, but it's swaying just enough to make even the faithful feel queasy. Because once you see the media goddess as just another luxury brand in the influencer industrial complex, the spell breaks. You start asking dangerous questions. Who made her queen? Why did we crown her? And how did no one see it sooner? The power isn't in the doubt, it's in the timing. The tide has shifted. Oprah was once the North Star of moral clarity. Now, in an age of digital renegades and pirate podcasters, she looks more like a stranded luxury yacht, quietly drifting with no map, no anchor, and no one rushing to tow her back to shore.
More I want to say disturbing, but it was confusing when that was taking hold with people. When I had friends that were telling me that The Secret is real and that they imagined they were going to fulfill these childhood dreams that they had about whatever, being a fucking astronaut, whatever it would be. There's a couple people that I knew that were trying to tell me that The Secret was going to be the thing and that they had a vision board and they had photographs, they put pictures up of the things that they wanted, like them in front of large crowds and shit. I'm like, oh boy.
Them in front of large crowds.
This is so not how it works.
Yeah.
And Rogan, he's not charging in with a bullhorn or a breaking news graphic. He's cruising along in his metaphorical kayak, handcrafted from elk meat and First Amendment quotes, just casually pointing out every glittering contradiction bobbing to the surface. A smirk here, a protein shake there. No yelling required. Because the receipts are everywhere out in the open, hiding in plain sight. Here's Oprah preaching mindfulness and balance, but doing it through a 10-part trauma docuseries bundled with a branded yoga mat, a lavender candle, and a 3-step journaling kit. Joe doesn't rage. He doesn't need to. He unpacks it all like a sketchy supplement labeled to many buzzwords, not enough substance. He cuts through the fog of high-end wellness, the $60 moon-blessed water bottles, the spiritual gurus with management teams, the curated enlightenment. That somehow always concludes with a call to action and a shopping cart. Oprah's empire, once rooted in raw vulnerability and emotional realness, has become a glossy labyrinth of designer self-awareness and monetized motivation. It's not villainous. It's just glaringly transparent. And that's what makes it uncomfortable. Her original audience, the daytime faithful who once saw her as the voice of the voiceless, aren't exactly angry. They're waking up slowly, like coming out of a decades-long nap and realizing their trusted life coach was also subtly upselling the couch they were sobbing on. Joe doesn't say it outright. He doesn't have to. The image he paints is quiet but striking. A woman who once stood barefoot in the emotional trenches, now wrapped in soft focus lighting, brand partnerships, and enough motivational quotes to wallpaper a mansion. Tucker isn't concerned with green juice or chakras or gratitude journals. His lens is political, strategic, ruthless. Where Joe questions intention, Tucker interrogates influence. To him, Oprah isn't just an overexposed media mogul. She's the smiling gatekeeper of America's elite morality play. The woman who decides, often with a single monologue or well-timed glance, what's admirable, what's shameful, what deserves airtime, and what disappears overnight. One weepy interview, and suddenly a national conversation pivots. One disapproving soundbite, and a career in Hollywood loses steam. That kind of influence, it terrifies Tucker not because it's overt, but because it's soft. Soft power is slipperier, sneakier. It whispers instead of shouts. It makes you feel inspired while subtly steering your beliefs. It dresses control up in compassion and wraps privilege in a bow of relatability. He pulls back the curtain with precision, revealing Oprah not as the queen of the people, but as the emotional concierge of the elite class. She humanizes billionaires. While having lunch with them, she speaks to every woman, while floating 5 stories above them propped up on awards, acclaim, and strategic brand curation. It doesn't hit like a tabloid scandal. It hits because it feels true. Tucker doesn't call her corrupt. He doesn't need to. The numbers do the talking. Billionaire, brand ambassador, spiritual tastemaker, political signal booster, platformer of pseudoscience. Somehow all at once, while still being seen as the humble girl from Mississippi with wisdom in her eyes and healing in her voice. And the audience? They're not storming the gates. They're not canceling her. They're pausing, blinking, rewatching clips, re-examining what they once accepted without question. And that is the one thing Oprah's empire, for all its power, has no built-in defense against mass doubt.